There is a burrito in San Diego that has French fries inside it. Not on the side, inside, wrapped in the same flour tortilla as the carne asada, the cheese, the guacamole, the sour cream. The fries go in first, then everything else, and the whole thing gets folded shut, like it was always meant to be that way. Here's the strange part. It works. It works so well that food writer Carolyn Carreno compared carne asada burritos to a slice of New York pizza. Not just as food, but as a civic identity. As something that belongs to a place the way nothing else does. But why French fries? And why San Diego? The burrito itself is ancient by American standards. The California burrito, this specific combination, only appeared sometime in the 1980s. 4 decades of existence, and it has never successfully migrated. You can find it copied elsewhere, but it doesn't feel right anywhere else. It tastes, somehow, of a specific geography, of a specific border. To understand why, you have to understand what San Diego is. Not the Navy town or the tourist city, but what it has been, physically and economically, for the people who actually built it. The answer runs through a single border crossing, a family from the interior of Mexico, and a word that means, literally, little donkey. San Diego sits at the southwestern corner of the continental United States, pressed between the Pacific and the Sonoran Desert, 12 miles from the Mexican border. The single feature that defines everything else is the crossing at San Ysidro. The San Ysidro port of entry opened in 1906. By the early 21st century, it had become, by recorded traffic volume, the 4th busiest land border crossing in the world. In a single year, 2019, more than 53 million individual crossings were counted there. Every day, 70,000 vehicles cross northbound. 20,000 pedestrians follow on foot. The border here is not a wall. It is a membrane. Goods cross it. Labor crosses it. Families live on both sides simultaneously, eating breakfast in Tijuana and working lunch shifts in Chula Vista. This is the San Diego-Tijuana metropolitan region, the second most populous transborder metro area in the Western Hemisphere, with roughly 5 million people as of 2022. Now, add the military. San Diego's population more than doubled between 1930 and 1950, from just under 148,000 to nearly 334,000, driven by World War II. Naval Base San Diego, Naval Training Center San Diego, the Naval Hospital, Camp Matthews. The installations multiplied. Young men arrived from across the country with money to spend and limited time between shifts. They needed to eat fast and eat cheaply. So by mid-century, 2 pressures bear down on the same geography. A continuous wave of Mexican workers settling near the border, and a large, hungry military population in the north. The food that emerged from this collision wasn't imported. It was made here. And the reason it could only be made here starts with who was actually cooking. In 1942, the United States and Mexico signed the Mexican Farm Labor Agreement, and the program it created became known as the Bracero Program. Between 1942 and 1964, it issued contracts to between 4.6 million and 5 million Mexican workers, the largest guest worker program in American history. In its peak years, the U.S. admitted an average of 200,000 braceros per year, recruited from interior states like Guanajuato, Jalisco, and Michoacán. The program was framed as temporary, but labor migration rarely works the way governments design it. Networks formed. Families followed. When the Bracero program ended in 1964, those networks became the infrastructure for continued migration into California cities. The community that built San Diego's Mexican-American identity came disproportionately from the interior of Mexico. This matters for the food story in a way almost no one discusses. Here is a piece of culinary history that will complicate everything you thought you knew about the burrito. The flour tortilla is widely assumed to be a product of northern Mexico, but records show that as late as the 19th century, corn tortillas were the staple bread in northern Mexico. The flour tortilla only became dominant there after the 1930s, when the state of Coahuila became Mexico's largest wheat producer in 1931. Before that shift, interior states, Jalisco, Zacatecas, and Guanajuato, were among the primary wheat-growing regions, with San Luis Potosí also a significant producing area. The cooks who came to San Diego from those states already knew the flour tortilla. It was not an adaptation they borrowed. It was home. The neighborhood where this culinary adaptation happened was Logan Heights. Mexican settlers arrived in the 1890s. After 1910, refugees fleeing the Mexican Revolution came in larger numbers, and the southern section became Barrio Logan. Barrio Logan was not treated generously by the city it fed. Naval installations took the waterfront during World War II. In the 1950s, the area was rezoned for mixed industrial use. In 1963, Interstate 5 was cut straight through. In 1969, the elevated Coronado Bridge on-ramps divided it again. Against that backdrop, in the early 1960s, Roberto Robledo made a decision that would define San Diego's food culture for half a century. He had immigrated from Mexico with his wife Dolores in the 1950s, working 2 or 3 jobs and raising 13 children. He bought a tortilla maker for $30 and converted a house in San Ysidro into a tortilleria. The Robledos delivered fresh tortillas to restaurants and to U.S. Border Patrol agents at an immigrant holding facility nearby. One day, agents asked Dolores if she could provide rice and beans with the tortillas. Roberto's taco shop grew from that exchange. By 1970, the Robledos had purchased 5 restaurants and renamed them all Roberto's Taco Shop, one of the first taco chains in the United States. They then drew relatives and friends from their home state of San Luis Potosí to San Diego, where each new arrival opened a variation. Alberto's, Filiberto's, Gilberto's, each a riff on the Robledo name, each restaurant another node in the same immigrant network. The Berto's constellation, assembled from a $30 tortilla press. And somewhere inside that network, in the 1980s, someone put French fries in a burrito. By the early 1980s, the Berto's taco shops had become a civic institution in San Diego. And here is where the California burrito enters the record. Food writer Gustavo Arellano traces the California burrito's origin to the 1980s, to an unknown Berto's establishment in San Diego. Lolita's Mexican food has also been documented as a likely birthplace. The fresh MXN chain, formerly Santana's, has made the same claim. The earliest known printed mention of the California burrito appeared in 1995 in the Albuquerque Tribune. Here's the receipt. The 1995 citation doesn't prove who invented the dish, but it proves the dish already had a name. And that name had traveled far enough to appear in a New Mexico newspaper. Something defined enough to be named and cited in another state is not a novelty. That is a cuisine. The question no one can answer is why French fries. The Mission-style burrito, popular in San Francisco from the 1960s onward, was built around rice and a variety of fillings. San Diego's taco shops went the other direction. San Diego-style burritos were described as an austere meal of meat, cheese, and salsa. Wall-to-wall carne asada, no filler. The economic logic is direct. These taco shops served heavy foot traffic from military personnel and shift workers, people with limited budgets and deep familiarity with American fast food. French fries required no cultural translation. A sailor who had never eaten a burrito understood French fries. They were the cheapest, most filling starch in the American fast food landscape. Carne asada completes the equation. The beef, usually skirt steak, flap steak, or flank steak, marinated in lime juice, salt, and Mexican seasonings, then grilled and chopped, traces its roots to the ranching culture of northern Mexican states like Nuevo León and Sonora. In San Diego, in the hands of cooks from the interior working with cuts from American markets, it became the signature protein of an entire food culture. The California burrito has been described as a trans-class food item, eaten by dock workers and naval officers alike. That cross-class reach is an artifact of its economics, designed to be filling, affordable, and fast. In April 1970, the residents of Barrio Logan did something extraordinary. The city had promised them a park beneath the new Coronado Bridge. Then the city canceled the plan and began construction of a California Highway Patrol station instead. The community occupied the land. They planted. They refused to leave. Chicano Park was born on April 22, 1970. It now holds the largest collection of outdoor murals in the United States, and in 2016, it was designated a National Historic Landmark. The murals document the Barrio Logan story: labor, resistance, displacement, and continuity. The California burrito and Chicano Park emerged from the same decade, the same neighborhood, the same pressure. Both reflect the same logic. A community the city underinvested in that built something no one could relocate. By 1999, the year Roberto Robledo died, the chain he and Dolores had built from a $30 tortilla press had reached 60 locations, 30 in San Diego County, 30 in Nevada and Miami. Carne asada fries, the open-plate version of the same core ingredients, first claimed by Lolitas in the late 1990s, had made it to Petco Park and Dodger Stadium. Del Taco began selling them nationally in 2015. The California burrito spread as a concept. It never fully spread as a food culture, because food culture is not portable the way a recipe is. The taco shop, its fresh tortillas, its specific neighborhoods, is the container the burrito lives in. Consider how far the burrito had already traveled. The burrito as a named dish first appeared in American print in 1934, cited in a cookbook by historian Erna Ferguson. In 1956, the first frozen burrito was developed in Southern California, but the California version remained tethered to its origin in a way that most foods don't. Which brings us back to the question that started this. So why French fries? Because this city is a border, not a line, a membrane. Because 53 million people cross the San Ysidro Gate in a single year, carrying food and labor and memory in both directions. Because a family from San Luis Potosi bought a tortilla press for $30 and started feeding Border Patrol agents, and from that transaction, an entire culinary network grew. Because the cheapest starch in the American fast food landscape turned out to be the one ingredient no other burrito had tried. And the cooks who put it there weren't following a tradition. They were building one. The California burrito is not Mexican food. It is not American food. It is border food. It is what happens when two economies and two food cultures press against each other daily for decades, and something new works its way through the gap. Every city that feeds its people well has a dish like this. San Diego's just happens to have French fries in it.